Hello and welcome back to the Real Estate Regroup Show, where this is actually going to be a special video. My aunt wanted me to talk about the housing policies between Kamala and Donald Trump based off of the debate. Now, this was before the debate occurred. Now that it has transpired, I have to say that Donald Trump really did not talk too much about real estate. Kamala Harris actually spoke more on the subject, and for whatever reason, he didn't really address it so much. So anyway, what I had to do was do a little background research and also do some recollection of, what transpired between both terms, and then wrap it up as neatly as I can and deliver it to you. Okay, so here we're going to start with Kamala first. Ladies first, right? Okay, so Kamala has said that she wanted to work with private sector and home builders so that they can bring up 3 million homes by her first term. That's pretty ambitious in my eyes, to be honest with you. But more power to her if she can do this. Okay, she is doing this basically because she wants to address the affordable housing shortage that we have here in this country. We have a housing shortage, period, whether it's affordable or not. Okay, but anyway, I'm gonna move on. So she is going to invest $100 billion into that area, and these houses, she would like them to be near good schools and transportation. She's also going to issue in a renter's tax credit. So this is for renters that are paying more than 30% of their income on rent and utilities. They'll be able to now report that on their tax return. Now, in order to increase home ownership, she is going to be allocating more money into the down payment assistance programs, providing $25,000 to first-time home buyers in historically redlined communities. Okay, there was a rumor saying that she was giving this to immigrants only. That's not true. Okay, this is for anybody who wants to buy in a historically redlined community. All right, now I will say this. What I have definitely seen an increase since she's been in office when it came to grants, the number of grants and the amount that each grant gives. Because back in the day, about 25 years ago, you couldn't find a grant for $100,000. Now there are grants for $100,000 to help you buy a house. As a matter of fact, on top of that, you can get multiple grants. You can get 6 grants on one house. I don't recall seeing that or knowing about anything like that 25 years ago when I was buying a house. So the money is there. You just have to apply for it. Okay. Now, when it comes to fair housing, she supports strengthening and enforcing many of the fair housing laws that combat housing discrimination, because unfortunately it still continues. Next, homelessness. She is advocating increased funding for homeless assistance programs and supportive housing. So if you are a real estate investor and you are into supportive housing, you're going to do very well under her administration. Now, what worries me is this one here, eviction prevention. She is basically going to be proposing legal assistance to tenants facing eviction, and she wants to establish a national eviction standard. I don't know what that is, but I just hope that she is clear that not all tenants are honest. You have some that take advantage of people, take advantage of the system. And I just hope that, she keeps that in mind. Those of you who are real estate investors, it's definitely time. The time has passed for you to go to your local legislatures and have a sit down talk with them. And some of you probably will need to run for office yourself so that you don't get run over, basically. All right. The next thing is that she's going to increase mortgage relief because during the COVID-19 pandemic, more homes definitely went into foreclosure. So she's going to also support mortgage relief programs as well as rental. See, back during COVID times, there was more help for renters than there was for home buyers. Okay, they didn't really start kicking in help for home buyers until a lot later, because they realized, especially when it came to like multifamily properties, those landlords wasn't getting any money. And as a matter of fact, some commercial properties like 20 units and above, sometimes they weren't getting any money at all, right? Like right now, where I'm at, there are buildings that want Columbia University to take them over because they're not making enough money to keep to maintain the property at all. You understand me? So now that they see that and they realize that, I think that is I think that's a good thing. I think that's a step in the right direction. Next thing, gentrification mitigation. She's proposing that if a person is a long-time resident of a gentrifying neighborhood, that they will be able to keep their apartments or keep their place of residence no matter what. So to me, this sounds like she's going to increase the TIL program, which is what we have in New York, and the TOPA program or the TOPA law that they have in DC. You see, basically with the TIL program, it allows you to buy your property, particularly if you've been there for 20 years. You have that option. So I think that they're going to try and increase that, and they'll probably also start to implement something like that in different states and in different cities. Okay, same thing with the TOPA law. The TOPA law is only in DC, but maybe they'll try and find a way. I did read that a while back, that they were trying to find a way to incorporate the two. Okay, but I will say this to you. It's not enough to say, okay, help me buy my property. You got to train people. And if they don't train the people, then the people will lose the property that they bought. Right? So that's how that goes. We also have ANCP programs and stuff like that. It basically allows you to buy your property if you've been there 20 years for like $200, $250. I don't know if they went up on the price on that, but that's basically what it is. And then to maintain it, you would pay something like $200 a month. That's how it goes in New York. All right, next. The next thing that was on her list, and she did mention this during the debate as well, is climate change. She acknowledges that our climate is definitely not the same as it was back, let's say, in the 1970s, because I was born in the 70s and she was born in the 60s. It's definitely different. So she wants to introduce green housing, making properties more energy efficient, particularly for low-income housing. Okay, so that goes back to the CDBG grant program. And there's also a number of other energy efficient grants that the government does give out, but people just have to apply for it, right? Okay, next is zoning reform. She has advocated for local governments to eliminate discriminating zoning laws. Now, I'll tell you this. When it comes to zoning laws, they don't necessarily say, okay, black people can't live here, but white people can. However, they do it in a more underhanded, discreet way, where they'll say that this area is for low-income housing, and then this area is for middle, and then this area is for luxury. So there is some zoning laws out there in certain areas, cities, states, etc., that do exist. And I'll even give you a good example. Believe it or not, New York City has it. Because you'll notice a lot of times the people who live on top of the hill make significantly more money than the people who live at the bottom of the hill. And some places the hills are fake, meaning they're not natural. The hills were created to separate the rich people from the poor people. And sometimes the rich and the poor is not always a black and white situation. Sometimes it's a white and white situation. Sometimes people who make a certain, there's classism does exist in this country, but it's not spoken of too much. Okay? And then the next thing, moving on, the next thing that she mentioned was, I believe it was like $50,000 grants for startup small businesses. So if you are a real estate investor, you got your LLC, or you want to be a real estate investor with an LLC, that money will be available to you. And then lastly, what I have on the list is that she wants to assist or, step it up when it comes to protecting seniors from scams. Because one of the biggest just about every scam, for some reason, they target the elderly, because they figure that the elderly are not really on top of their game mentally. Some of them may not necessarily, again, be as adept as when they were younger. And some of them are losing their houses because of the scams that's going on out here. So kudos to her for doing that. Now, Donald Trump did attack her on a number of issues. I'm not going to go over every single issue that he went on. But I have to say, when he talked about immigration, some of what he said, I agree that they overstepped. They went a little too far with the number of people that they have allowed into this country, particularly, I would say, New York City. Because where I'm at, there are so many people, and there doesn't seem to be enough housing for all the people that they have let in. They've actually turned schools where kids were learning into shelters for immigrants. And it's like, yes, I'm a child of an immigrant, but I say don't let so many people in and then you don't have any place to place them. Oh, just throw them in this city, just throw them in that city. No, that's not right. I mean, Alaska has a lot of land. You could throw them over there. But the thing is, we all know the winters over there are horrific. So they would definitely have to find someplace else to live during the winter months. So no, I agree with him on that. I disagree with him when he says that they eat cats and dogs. There might be one group that does that, but all immigrants do not do that. Okay, again, I am a child of an immigrant. I've never had a cat or dog. I have friends who are immigrants, not from the same country as my mother, and they don't eat cats and dogs either. So that was a bit of a stretch. Okay, now, there's another thing that I wanted to address as well that is being rumored regarding Kamala Harris that I want to put to rest if I can. All right. And that's the fact that she wants to tax unrealized gains. But it's only for people who make more than $100 million. There's a lot of people out here complaining and they don't make $100 million. As a matter of fact, hell, you don't even make $1 million. So I don't understand why you're upset and why you want to defend, or you think you're defending people who make $100 million. They are perfectly capable of defending themselves. They don't need your help. And some of them probably wouldn't even mind the tax cuts. I mean, not sorry, the tax cut. The increase in paying taxes is not really going to hurt them. They make $100 million. So, and then there's some people that don't even make $100,000 and they're complaining, acting like she's coming after them. No, she's not coming after you. So relax. Okay? Next, I'm going to go on Trump. So Trump, in my opinion, he didn't really say too much about real estate except for when Kamala said that, you inherited $400 million from your father and you filed bankruptcy 6 times. That's really the only time he talked about real estate. But he didn't really say, like, okay, this is what I'm going to do for the country. But let me just, before I move on into his policy, let me just actually say something regarding this particular issue. First of all, Kamala is actually wrong. He did not file bankruptcy 6 times. He filed bankruptcy about 8 times. And trust me, he's going to file bankruptcy again. And I'm going to tell you why. See, filing bankruptcy, particularly Chapter 11, that's a play. That's a play that a lot of rich people use for a number of different reasons. Let me explain to you what Chapter 11 bankruptcy is. It basically allows you to stay in business, right? It allows you to rewrite mortgages, which reduces the principal balance of the mortgage to the value of the property that you either live in or you own. Okay. It can also lower the interest rate and extend the repayment term. Okay. Chapter 11 also protects assets and business operations from disruption. So it allows your business to continue running. Also, when it comes to selling assets, it's attractive because you're free and clear of all liens and claims. So those are like the main reasons why. There are other reasons. For example, because the bondholders and the stakeholders of your company, they lose equity in the company, the payout to them doesn't have to be as high. And then here's another kicker. Now, this is something that an accountant from White Plains told me. If you disagree, let me know in the comment section. I'm okay with it. All right. They said that a lot of rich people will file Chapter 11 so that this way they don't have to pay for their kids, or they don't have to pay the full amount for their kids to go to college. This way their kids can get a Pell and a TAP grant. So the fact that she brought that up, that was really interesting to me, because it kind of says to me, it kind of makes me wonder, like, does she realize that this is a play, or was she trying to like dim his light to say he's a bad business person because he filed for bankruptcy so many times? Okay, so that's what I found interesting. And I'm shocked. At first I was shocked that Trump didn't bring it up, but then I said, well, maybe he doesn't want to, maybe he doesn't want the government to know that is how rich people usurp the system. That's how they take advantage of the system. That's a loophole, right? And in order for a loophole to remain a loophole, you don't want a politician to know. All right. So since I'm not really using it, I'm going to let it go. All right. So let's get back into Trump when he was in office, and also like what he wants to do as far as housing is concerned. So Trump is basically, he wants to reduce regulation on housing developments. When it comes to like putting up housing, developing housing, that can be rather dangerous, because those regulations are there to help assist and make sure that the structure of the house is in good condition. Because you don't want to buy a house, move in, and then all of a sudden it collapses. It's happened in Harlem before. And I'm pretty sure it's happened in other places of the world as well. So that's why I'm mentioning it. And that's why I don't think that deregulation is necessarily a good thing. Okay. He says it lowers costs and increases supply. That's true. However, there are some costs that you don't want to lower. There are certain things you don't want PVC everywhere. Sometimes you want that copper. All right. Anyway, moving right along. The next thing is the opportunity zones. The opportunity zones actually were started under President Obama, and they were called Obama zones. When he came into office, he changed it to opportunity zones, which I perfectly understand, but let's not give him like total credit like he is the one that started this thing up. It started under Obama. However, I will give him credit for continuing opportunity zones, and I will give Biden credit for continuing opportunity zones, which is basically, it encourages investment, particularly in low-income areas, by giving investors tax incentives. All right, so that's great. All right, so the next thing is that Trump, he did suspend temporarily the affirmatively furthering fair housing rule. Okay, what that rule was it was supposed to maintain fair housing practices, decrease or eliminate housing discrimination, and decrease housing disparities, making communities more inclusive. Well, what he did in 2018 was he suspended that. Biden actually reopened it, so it's still going on, if you will. If Trump goes back into office, he'll probably kill it. If Kamala goes into the office, she's obviously going to maintain that. Okay? And, it's not really surprising that he did it. And it is true. His father did refuse to rent to black families back in the day, particularly here in New York City. So it's not really surprising that he wanted to get rid of that particular rule. Whether he feels the way his father does, that's neither here nor there, even though he was a grown man when he got charged. And the charges were not, I think he said they were dismissed. They weren't dismissed. But anyway, again, moving along. So Trump's budget also wants to cut funding to housing assistance programs, and these programs are those like Section 8. He also wants to, of course, make sure that able-bodied people are actually working. Even, for those who are living in the projects and stuff like that. As far as homelessness is concerned, he's focused on law enforcement and reducing housing regulations, rather than expanding social services. He has mentioned that he wanted to take like vacant land and create camps and put homeless people there as well. No, this stuff here is not mentioned in the debate, but this is something that he has mentioned in a speech. Okay? All right. Now, as far as Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac is concerned, he wants to end government control of mortgage finance companies. Now, yes, I do mortgage notes. I don't care for a lot of the regulation, but there is some regulations that are definitely needed. And if they get rid of them, then you're going to have a lot more predatory lenders that will take advantage of homeowners, which will, of course, increase foreclosure, etc., etc., etc. So that I'm not all that crazy about. And he, again, he's going to ease up on mortgage lending. So that, of course, falls into my ballpark. That affects me. I'm okay with it because I don't plan on really borrowing from anybody, and if I do, I kind of know who to go to and how to do it. But for other people, because you see, you got people out here who work 2-3 jobs. They don't have time to pick the right person, if you will, unfortunately. And sometimes they end up picking the wrong person, and that person scams them. That person takes advantage of them. That person will qualify them for homes that they know they shouldn't have, even if they do have a grant. So that's how I feel on that. All right. Okay. So moving along. What did Kamala say about Trump? She mentioned that he is more for giving tax cuts to billionaires. Well, in his past administration, he did give tax cuts to those who made a lot of money. So that's not really too far off. It's not far off at all. Next, with COVID, the way it was handled, I agree. More could have been done to reduce it so that it would not have been a global pandemic. Okay. The next thing that, actually, he mentioned that I feel that I need to say something about is he mentioned that when he was president, that was the greatest economy that ever existed. Okay, well, listen, let me tell you something. The truth is that the stock market is always volatile. And it's actually been the highest during Biden, not during Trump. More noise was made when Trump was in office. But if you really look at the numbers, more money was actually made in the stock market under Biden. The next thing that was mentioned, and she wasn't far off, was that there were trade wars. Building materials did go up, especially the price of wood. It jumped up like crazy when he was in office, particularly because he declared a trade war against China. Okay, so that was definitely not far off. And then the other thing that she did mention was climate change. He did say that climate change is a hoax. He did say that it didn't exist. That did actually come out of his mouth. I saw the words coming out of his mouth. All right. So here's the thing. The climate change issue is a problem. Insurance rates have come up because he did not do anything as far as protecting the climate. Like, there are places that are getting sinkholes that have never gotten sinkholes before. And now a lot of people can't afford to stay in their homes because the insurance premiums and stuff like that is so high. So she's not far off there. She's actually hit the nail on the head. All right. Next thing that I wanted to say is this. Now, she didn't say this, but I'm hearing this on social media, and this needs to be addressed when it comes to black male employment. Okay, so a lot of people are saying that with Trump, that was the highest number of black male employment. It was before COVID, but then after COVID, it became the lowest. Biden actually has brought that back up. Even with all these immigrants that are being let into the country, black American male employment has actually gone up under Biden. So, guys, just be very careful of some of the things that are being said. We really have to fact check it. And sometimes we have to look into things just a little bit more carefully. A little bit more. We have to do a little bit more diligence. I know some of you might not have too much time to do so as far as, looking things up, but just be very careful. As a matter of fact, you can fact check this whole video. I'm okay with it. I'm perfectly fine with it. But don't just do it to me. Do it to other people as well. And I'm not saying I'm right all the time, because I know I'm not. Because nobody's perfect, right? But, yeah, there are certain things. Oof. There are certain things that we do need to look into when it comes to who we're going to choose as president. And note this, no matter which one you choose, whether you choose Kamala or you choose Trump, they're not going to work alone in order to get all of these initiatives passed. Trump already has, picked a whole lot of people, when it came to judges that are sitting there for life. Okay, but then you have the Congress. Okay, the Congress is also chosen by you. So if you want something passed, you can't just say, okay, we got the president and that's it. Because if you have a Democratic president, and then you have a Republican Congress, and then a Republican for all these Republicans that are judges, that can be an issue. You understand? So just really think. Go over what I said. If you have to replay this video again, do so that you can make an informed decision. And then also keep your ears peeled for any new latest developments in case either one of these candidates change their mind. All right, so that's all I have for you for tonight. Hopefully the information that I shared will help you make smart financial moves. Feel free to pass this amongst your friends. Remember, each one, reach one, teach one. Bye for now. Until next time, have a good night.